probably paid a little too much for what I'm about to show you. The E30 bug got me. So far, I really like it. Can't go wrong with an old school classic BMW with a manual transmission. It's just the way they're meant to be enjoyed. Am I right? Am I right? If this is a new world for you, you might not know what engine this one has. So this one has a 2.5 liter inline six that makes about 167 horsepower. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. Well, a little bit more in a little bit. I sold mine back in 2015 and I've been wanting one of these for so long, and I finally was able to grab one. I'm not going to talk about the price that I paid for it because in reality I probably paid a little too much for what I'm about to show you. But either way, I love her. She's perfect. She's perfectly imperfect. That's the way that I'm going to describe it. Don't have a name, don't have anything like that. Just got temp tags, and I've put about 40 miles on it so far. And I've learned a lot about it. A lot about it, actually. So we're going to talk about all those features and all the things, and I'm going to give you guys a walk around of what to expect on the channel, what projects I'm going to dive into, and how I plan to bring this back to its whole famous glory. And I know you guys have probably noticed the wheels. I'm not a fan of this fitment. We're going to work on that. I like it a little bit more tucked, a little less monster truck looking, but these wheels are nice. That was a must-have. So my list was pretty easy. Red interior, white, convertible, manual. The other thing that I didn't want to negotiate on is whether this thing ran and drove. So let me take you guys off the tripod and we'll start walking around and talking about this thing. So I'm going to start with the good angles, the best angles, and really show you how glamorous this thing is. And I'm not just saying that. This is actually a really clean condition E30. These are about 37 years old, and you know, if you can't do the math, I did it for you, no worries. This is the one time LJ knows how to do some math. But 37 years old, it's about 5 years older than me. I really wanted a 92, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers, and I really wanted one of these things. And no matter how much in life I've waited and tried to make sure the timing was right, sometimes it just didn't work out. But either way, I decided to just pull the trigger, and this is what I've got, and this is what I'm gonna work with. And I hope that you guys are, you know, eager to see how this thing turns out. There's not a whole lot of like modifications right off the bat. Most importantly, maintenance. You buy a new car, you don't know what kind of life it's lived. Luckily for this one, I do have some service records and a list of parts that were all put on within the last few years. I haven't had the chance to get it up on a jack and see what's really under it, but you know, this is the golden hour. It looks really good in this light. It's got the egg yolks, which I really like. I was gonna do that anyways. Some people hate it, some people love it. I mean, to each their own, that is. Definitely. So I'm just gonna walk around, and it hasn't been washed. It hasn't been anything really detailed whatsoever. The previous owner that I got this from over the weekend, he said that he did give this a wash, so it needs another one because it was sitting on the back of a trailer and it's not looking the best right now. This paint, if you guys can see on this hood, it's definitely in need of some love. You can see there's something happening right there. I'm gonna have to figure all that out and see if we can get this paint restored. If not, I know somebody that's really good at wrapping cars, and I'm hoping that maybe that would be the next best thing. As far as exterior projects, that's where we'll start. This has these spacers on there, but the suspension is upgraded. I'll have to look to see what suspension's on it, but I know that they're not the factory options. Just down here, I'm gonna have to replace these side skirts and clean this up. Got a little bit of surface rust going on there, hopefully surface rust. Just along those pinch points, or the jack points, and it's kind of a common spot on these. The other common spot is right up in this real wheel arches, and right now you guys can't really see much. I'll break this down later on, but everything looks good as far as the initial peek at it. And we'll pop this trunk in a little bit and show you guys some of the stuff going on in there. But overall, I mean, the car is in great condition. I know that there's a lot of work that I'm gonna have to do to get it back to a solid like 8 to 9 out of 10, but being able to drive it, enjoy it, that was a big thing that I really needed to have. So the next problem that I've got is these pinstripes. They disappear around the car. It may have been replaced. It may have just faded. Luckily, I think these are like the vinyl ones, so I might be able to just kind of peel those off with some heat, Goo Gone, adhesive removal, everything like that, one of those little scrubby pads, and bring that back to life and just kind of remove the pinstripe, because I doubt I'm going to try to redo pinstriping. That just seems like a hot mess. And now this is the other spot where there's a little bit of rust going on in this rear wheel area, and that's again just another common spot. So I'll show you guys in the trunk. what that's looking like, because that might be a problem. And then over here, same thing, just these normal little pinch points. As far as the body kit goes, it's not in the best condition. You'll look down here, you'll notice it's got a couple scratches and scrapes and some chips going on, but nothing too crazy. A couple little panel lifts right here and something along those lines, but I do plan to do some upgrades, clean all that up. Even on the hood itself, a couple little chips, dings, which is to be expected. And then let's talk about the interior. Actually, the only thing else on the outside that's worth talking about is gonna be the side mirrors. They've seen better days. Better days, better days. Let's talk about this. So on the interior right now, I've got the top down. I don't feel like putting this back up. I'll insert a picture of the top and some of the other points on the top that I need to fix. The seats themselves though, were just recently re-dyed. So you can see that they're a lot brighter red than the side panels, which is something that eventually down the road I do want to do, is try to kind of get all of this, bring it back to life. That's unfortunately the sun damage from, you know, being a convertible. As you can see, it's a little bit of bubbling. This is starting to lift up a little bit. Nothing really major. I could drive the car like this for the rest of its life and not ever address that, but it's just stuff that I want to point out that maybe at a later time, maybe not right now, that I want to, you know, clean up and take care of. The convertible top leaks right above this door because it has a little tear on the seals on both sides. So eventually I need to either redo all the seals or get a new top. In order to get a better deal on the car itself, there was a bunch of extra parts that the previous owner already had and said that he was going to do as part of the deal. But I was like, you know what, it's okay. Let's get this car in my budget. Let's get it where I want it. And so we decided to just get rid of the extra parts. He kept those, he's gonna sell them, and I'm just gonna have to salvage my own parts. So if you know anybody that has E30 parts or wants to be a part of this build, let me know, because my budget and my wallet are screaming right now. As I'm walking in, you'll notice a couple things. The seats have a couple little imperfections on them, nothing major, but at least they're red and look clean to me. There's our 5-speed manual. Look at that, look at that. That was a must-have, and I'm glad I have it. Armrest is not currently attached right now, but we'll get the armrest back on there, clean that up a little bit. Our seat belts have seen better days. That one does actually click, but sometimes you have to be a little bit picky with it. I know a lot of you are probably watching this and being like, LJ, what did you just do? Trust me, I'm asking myself the same thing. I followed my heart, not my head. And I'm hoping that this car continues to be something that I love and enjoy as we get back to this tour. Just keep in mind that this is something that I've wanted for a long time. And if you know the E30 market, you know that one of these, when fully restored, is about $15,000 to $20,000 as is. And so I really thought about that when I was doing this. And I gave myself that wiggle room of staying under $15,000 is my goal with this whole entire car. Unfortunately, I went a little bit higher than I wanted to on the car purchase itself. So that leaves me with just enough to be able to make that happen. So let's talk about a few things right here. One, you guys will notice it's got a screen right there. I like having Bluetooth, Android Auto, CarPlay, all that stuff. I have it in none of my other cars, so this is my first car with that. It is aftermarket, as you can imagine. This did not come installed on the car in 1987. That would be some time traveler craziness. You'll notice that this odometer is broken, which is typical. And fun fact for you guys, if you don't know, these came with 5-digit odometers. So once they get to 100,000 miles, they roll over and start over at 0. So after 20 years in the state of Florida, odometer readings don't matter. They're irrelevant. And a lot of states are like that, actually. So they just disregard, and this becomes a vintage car. Who cares about the mileage? Who cares about the odometer? And those type of things. So this needs to be replaced. I've got that ordered already, and that'll be another fix. Down here, you'll notice that it is a little bit of a wiring mess, and I do have this kick plate. It's in my garage right now, but the reason that this is off for one of two reasons. One, I just haven't put it on, and two, I have to replace the hood release, and that is a whole nother story there. So once I replace the hood release, that'll be good, and then I'll put this kick plate back on. And unfortunately, with these cars, there's so many electrical issues and gremlins and things that you got to watch out for, and this, unfortunately, at the time, did have one of those, but I think I may have sorted out, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But other than that, everything in here looks pretty good, feels pretty good, and is at a reasonable level of care and work that it's going to require to bring it back to life. I am missing a passenger side visor, so if you guys have one of those, feel free to send it to me. But other than that, that's the interior. The other thing that I have to fix, which you guys will see a picture of right here, is the back window on the convertible top. It's seen better days. That's all I gotta say. But let me go ahead and open this up. You guys will see that there's a little bit of cracking right here on this little rear spoiler. We'll get that taken care of eventually. But back looks good. We do have an aftermarket exhaust on there, so that's pretty sweet to have. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And then I will need to address that eventually. Nothing really major. Again, just something that I've got to tackle at some point. All right, we got this trunk popped. Here's my hood release cable that I've got to replace, and some spare parts and things. So let's talk about this little area. You guys can see down in there, just a little bit of rust going on. I'm gonna have to rip this up a little bit and see what we're really working with, but that's another common spot. Luckily on this side, it's pretty good, and the battery is relocated to the front, and then I do have a spare tire and all that stuff in there. But other than that, not much exciting stuff. I do have the toolkit, but it's seen better days as well. Let's see what's left of our tools. Oh man, I think I could take the whole car apart with this. How much you guys want to bet I could? I bet you a lot I couldn't. But anyways, oh, a little vintage. We got something here. Did you guys, if any of you went to this annual car show, let me know. 2001 September, maybe we could be friends. Now for the fun part, let's talk about the engine. With this hood release being broken, we unfortunately have to use the emergency hood release right up in here. I gotta stick the screwdriver in, find the spot, and then give it a little twist. Look at that, she pops right open. So let me put the screwdriver back and I'll show you guys what we're working with. All right, be gentle guys. I know she ain't pretty, but this is what happens when you buy a 37-year-old project car. I know, I'm nuts. But yeah, this is her M20 B25, but this one does have a chip on it, which adds 15 horsepower and 15 torque. So, I mean, that's something to brag about, I guess. Ladies, hello. But anyways, back to the car. This has a slight parasitic drain that's going on with it, at least according to the previous owner. I put this on the trickle charger overnight, 12 hours. This thing has been holding voltage really good. In fact, let me check it again right now. Keep you guys right there. You guys let me know what it reads. 13 volts, which is exactly what it read yesterday. So the battery's from November 2022, and it was being driven maybe once a week, and which I'm thinking that wasn't enough to ever recharge this battery fully. So I'm gonna get it tested, but for the meantime, it's been 2 days now and that hasn't drained at all. So it's holding steady. And even when I pulled the amps, I was getting about 0.1 amps. So something somewhere might be doing something, or it could just be that the battery just needed a really good charge and keeping this thing driven regularly. So no electrical issues that have happened with me owning the car, but that doesn't mean that this doesn't really have any issues, but that's another story for another video. Yep, this is her. Yep. If you got a keen eye, you'll notice that it's got some electrical wiring stuff going on there, which could become a pain in the butt, but everything runs, all the lights work, no other issues there, all my sensors are good. So what my plan is eventually this radiator needs to get cleaned up too. You can see this is what happens too. Sometimes people take shortcuts and just do what they've got to do. I'm gonna dig into that and tear into that later. But my plan for this car, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. We're gonna bring this car back to life little by little. And the biggest chunk that's gonna be first is I'm not gonna do any mods, anything to take care of the exterior other than a detail, which I'm gonna try that myself for the first time. If you guys know, I don't love washing cars, I don't love detailing, but I'm gonna give this a shot and see if I can get this car to look good again. Not that it doesn't look good, but I want to make it look better. You know what I'm saying? I want to make it spicy. I want to make it good looking. Yeah. So that's my plan. And other than that, I'm gonna pull apart this front end. Timing belt was recently done. I'm already looking down here. You can see that this boot is supposed to be connected, but it is broken. So we'll get that taken care of. And I'm, you know, nervous what I'm gonna find down there. Hopefully you guys are excited to see this car come back to life and really, really look good and shine again. That's my plan with it. Eventually down the road, maybe give this to my first child or my little brother who's getting his license in a couple years, and maybe he'll want to drive it. But the only thing I realize is as I've gotten older, you know, I used to be like, yeah, I could drive this, but this has no safety features, or very minimal, let's put it that way. And so I got to think about that. I didn't really worry about that stuff as a teenager, but now with my little brother, I'm like, do I really want to give him a car that's an 87 when everybody's car is 5,000-6,000 pounds on the road? Probably not. We'll talk about that. The other thing is this battery tray, common rust spot. This unfortunately is one of those, so it needs a little bit of love to get that tray back to normal. So I'm eventually just going to have someone probably pull that old tray out, weld in a new piece for that to sit on, and it'll be good to go. But we're going to pull this hood, pull the front bumper, pull the headlights, take everything apart, and just do everything that we can there. Eventually do a valve adjustment, clean this up, just do full maintenance before I drive this any further than like 20-30 miles, and really like get on it. Right now I've been babying it, just enjoying it the way that it is, and I've been pretty happy with it. It does have a little bit of a rattle, and I'm thinking that because it has this aftermarket suspension, maybe the collars on the suspension are loose, or the spacers are causing some sort of vibration issue. I'm going to dig into that as well. So as of right now, really just a matter of addressing any leaks and concerns that we have up front, spark plugs, maintenance, oil change fluids, all of that stuff. I also have just been letting it sit for a couple of days, and it does have just a little tiny leak. Surprisingly, this is after about 3 days. So I'm pretty excited and happy considering that these things leak like crazy. And it's definitely got something going on. That's a whole nother project for another time. Maybe get a new battery, depending on how this one holds up. Replace this hood latch release. That's a must. And then on the interior, figure out if I want to keep that screen. But for now, I like it. It does what it needs to do. Not really mad about having Bluetooth. Change out the seals on the convertible top, or get a new convertible top. Honestly, the difference in price is seeming like it's better to just get a new convertible top, or I might just find a shop that can do the seals and re-gasket it or whatever you gotta do. But yeah, there she is. Oh, and then handle some of the rust spots, suspension rattle, and then just tune this up to run a little bit smoother than it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it up, let you guys see what it idles like, and you guys will probably hear that it does need a little bit of a tune-up, if you would call it that. So that's her. That's what she sounds like. Pretty decent idle. We'll push this because why not? Needs an oil change. So on the list of things to do. Without my armrest, I feel lost. It does have a short shifter on it, which I'm not the biggest fan of the short shifter, but I don't hate the short shifter. So you guys might hear some of the rattles that I'm talking about. Maybe a little bit of the clanks. So it has that little clank. This is second gear. Shifts good. Shifts good. Come on, seatbelt. Get in there. There we go. Seatbelt good. Strapped up. Clutch engage is pretty good. The thing I will say is this car gets a lot of attention, almost as much as the M3 does. All the gears, no issues, doesn't pop out, doesn't grind. Hopefully you guys can hear me and the audio is pretty decent. But man, something about this at 7 o'clock at night, just cruising with the top down, it really, really does just check all the boxes that I'm looking for. Oh man, this little car something else. I know that a lot of people are like, I don't get it, what's the hype, it's just an old BMW. I don't know, you just kind of have to really like appreciate what these things can do. It's such an easy car to drive, such an easy car to enjoy, and I'm hoping an easy car to maintain. And I hope that this car was really loved in a past life, because I can't wait to enjoy this 6,200, 300 RPM redline and really ride this thing out and see what it's able to do. It's just such a magnificent car. Being able to have one of the newest 3 Series and the original 3 Series is a dream come true. And I'll talk more about why I love this car in another video. I could rant and rave and talk about just this car all day long, all night long. And I cannot wait for you guys to see what happens next with it. So really, really, if you are someone who loves cars and loves BMW specifically, you're in the right place. I love them old school, new school, every kind of school. And the amount of people I've converted to BMW fans is a little bit nuts, because who would have thought this would have been my favorite brand? I bought a BMW for the first time probably just because it was a good deal on a 325. And after that, the rest is just literally history. Well, eventually it'll be history. Electrical, I know enough. I do HVAC and did that before for 6-7 years. And so I know my way around electricity and things like that, but I hate trying to figure out somebody else's wiring, especially if they just made it up on the way. That's the only downside to this car for me that I'm thinking of. The leaks are expected, the rust is expected, the electrical issues, they are somewhat expected with old wires, but taking on somebody else's project, not so much. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this quick one. Just a little intro to let you know what I've been up to and why I haven't filmed any videos in a while. I'm still going to do my car reviews. I'm still going to do all those things. But I just wanted to do something different, something for me, something fun, something exciting and new and different. All of those things. And I hope that you guys stay around for more. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.